Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. Whew. It's been almost a year since I said that phrase, but welcome back to my channel, you guys. I know it's been just about a year since I've recorded my last video, but life has been doing what life does. But thankfully, God has been doing what God does. So I'm here, I'm back, and 2023 is going to be an amazing year here on the Tori Standard. If you're new here, my name is Tevi Latori. Welcome to my channel. Right, so as I said, last year has been a pretty tough year for me, and I started the year all excited to create content and to show you guys what I had planned, but it seems like God had a different plan. Last year, I went through job changes, life changes, relationship changes, and I really needed to spend time with myself and God to figure out what exactly is the direction I needed to be going in. So I did all of that. It wasn't easy. I'm still a work in progress. But this year on the Tori Standard, we are going to be focusing on leveling up our lives. Yes. And this is specifically for our young women. Of course, there will be space here for the guys as well. But my focus is definitely to inspire and to encourage young women like myself. Because when I was younger, when I was about 20, 21, I needed somebody to help give me guidance and to tell me the things that those conversations you can't quite have with your parents. I needed somebody to have those conversations with me, and I didn't have that. So my hope is to be that person for young women and young girls. So this year we're going to explore the concept of self-love and what it means to actually love yourself in the way God intended for you to discover your purpose, for you to show up as your best self, for you to discover what your contribution to this world is, and for you to go after the life you want to become the woman you want to become. So we're leveling up in every single aspect of our lives this year. Yeah. So stick with me. I'm also going to be posting content to my Instagram more often because it's just easier for me to do that. So subscribe to this channel, share the link, and also like and follow my Instagram page. It's Lala Tori. I'll put the link in the description as well on the screen. Today we're going to dive quickly into self-love and what it means to love yourself. According to the Oxford Dictionary, self-love is actually regard for one's own well-being and happiness. Now, in order for you to have a good relationship, or instead of looking for somebody else to show you the love that you so deeply desire, how about turning that expectation on yourself? If you don't love yourself, if you don't show up for yourself, if you don't speak highly of yourself, how do you expect someone to treat you that way and to give you all of the things you want? First, we have to learn to give that to ourselves. And that's one of the things I've been learning last year. And one thing I realize is when you are given a test or a lesson and you don't learn it the first 5 times, you're going to keep being put in that situation until you learn that lesson. You're going to keep facing that challenge until you overcome it. So I decided to just hit myself on top of the head and say, hey, Tevi, you're not doing this again. You're not going through this again. You've been through this before. You know exactly what you need to do. So that's it. Learn that lesson and let's move on. And what do you do when you love somebody? You spend time with it. Let's say you have a boyfriend. You love this person so much. You want to spend time with him. You want to figure out what he likes, what he dislikes. You want to figure out what his favorite color is, what his favorite food is, where he'd like to go. And you just want to be with, spend time with, and learn as much as you can about this person. Well, what we are going to do is do that, be that, and learn all of that about ourselves. That is what the entire concept of self-love is. And there's a scripture I want I want us to go through, which is Matthew 22. We'll do the entire chapter. I would encourage you to read the entire chapter. I'm reading from my iPad here, but I'll just read an excerpt from verse 34 to 40, which is titled The Greatest Commandment. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. What I want you to gather from this is the commandment says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. That's the first commandment, so you love God. And the second, which is just like the first, is to love your neighbor as yourself. So in order for you to figure out how to love your neighbor, you have to love yourself. See? So there's a prerequisite to giving love to others. In order for you to love your friend, love your best friend, love your boyfriend, you're thinking about marriage and all these things, you have to learn to love yourself first. And that is the greatest commandment. Love God, love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. In loving yourself, I want to share 7 quick, what I want to call these, manifestations or prerequisites to self-love. Yeah. Self-love is as a result of self-discovery. You have to discover who you are. Well, who do you want to be? Who you are, who you're created to be, and what your purpose is. After you discover yourself, that's one of the ways you'll begin to develop a sense of self-love. Second, self-source. Source speaks to where you're from. Where did you come from? Of course, there's a creator that created you, who blew his breath into you before you were conceived in your mother's womb. God already thought of and planned your life out. So self-source speaks to connecting with your creator. The third is self-worth. Know your value for yourself. If you do not know what your value is, trust me, society is going to place a value on you. And then you will be tossed and turned and blown in every direction the winds of trend blow you into. So figure out, spend time with yourself, establish your standards and your values and what makes you at your core, and develop a strong sense of self-worth. Fourth, self-worth or self-esteem. Esteem comes from the word estimate. How do you estimate your value? Let's take, for example, somebody gives you, back in the day there was, I think it's Cracker Jacks had a cereal and they had these ring pops in it. I believe when I used to go to primary school, there was this ring you put on and had a candy and you would just suck on it. Well, and afterwards the guys would pretend engaged a girl or a friend in class with that plastic ring. Well, let's say somebody gave you one of those rings and somebody also gave you a diamond ring or goes to King's Jewelry World and gets you one of the best cushion cut diamond rings. So you have these 2 rings, the plastic and the diamond. Which one do you value more and why? Based on the material that a plastic ring was made of, you know that that's not estimated to be worth much. It's probably worth the box of the cereal, which is about, let's say, 800 Guyana dollars now. And that diamond ring, you ever asked the guy how much he paid for an engagement ring? Or ladies, do you know the type of ring that you want, how much it costs? Real gold and diamonds, in addition to gold, it costs several $100,000 Guyana dollars. So if you estimate this diamond ring to be several $100,000 Guyana dollars, that's more than most people's entire monthly salary. What are you going to do with it? You're going to cherish that ring. You're going to keep it safe. You're going to make sure that you don't wash your wares and your clothes with it because you don't want to get it. You don't want to damage it. You're going to take it to be cleaned quite often because you don't want to have that muck on it. You want to be able to flip your wrist and show off that ring, yeah? Because of the estimated value you place on said ring. And that's the way we need to treat ourselves. How do you estimate your own value? How do you see yourself? Fifth is self-concept. Concept speaks to the picture. How do you conceive or how do you picture yourself? When you think of yourself, do you think about something precious, a good, kind, generous person? How do you picture yourself? And the way you picture yourself is the way you will act, and then you will, you will attract exactly what you picture yourself. You will attract that same behavior. You'll attract that same concept or perception of you because that is the way you picture yourself. And the way you picture yourself is exactly how you will behave. You will train your mind to see yourself that way. You will treat yourself that way. You will expect of yourself a certain standard. And when you live your life that way, then if you do it for yourself, then obviously if somebody wants to get close to you, they have to meet you where you are or exceed that. Next, we'll talk about self-identity. And according to the dictionary, this is Oxford again, identity is the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. And it keeps coming back to knowing who you are. And again, if you don't know who you are, if you haven't decided who you are at your core, by the way you treat yourself, by the examples people see in you, then people are going to tell you who you are. And that's the worst thing that can ever happen, to live your life according to what people think of you. You are who God says you are. You're His child. You are the apple of His eyes. You are His greatest creation. When He created man, He said, this is very good. You are very good in God's eyes. Yeah? So fall in love with who you are. See yourself as the greatest thing that God ever created and live your life accordingly. And finally, self-value. Let me read one more time from the dictionary. Value means the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Need I say more? The regard that something is held to deserve. If you regard yourself, you value yourself, you realize that you are held to deserve a certain level of treatment. Yeah? And you give it to yourself first before you can expect somebody else to give that to you. So guys, that's just the beginning. We're going to dive into this over the rest of the year. We're focusing again on leveling up. I'm of course going to share a lot of my experiences up to this point, and I want to focus heavily on setting standards and boundaries for yourself. We have to be able to see ourselves in a certain way to be able to level up. You want to have the world, you want to travel the world, you want somebody to give you everything that they've got, but you don't give that to yourself. You don't show up for yourself. You don't value yourself. You don't know your worth. And that's got to change, guys. Let's make an effort to change it. So, thank you for joining me on the Tori Standard. I'm so excited to be back, guys. It's been challenging. It's been nerve-wracking for me because of how I felt, because I didn't feel like my life was where it needed to be. And being quite honest, my self-value, my self-worth did diminish just a teeny weeny bit, but it just took me a while to sit with myself, to understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and then snap back out of it. But I challenge you guys to spend a month, just a month, with yourself. Don't go out. Don't limit your outside communication. Spend time at home with yourself. Spend time with God. And that's what I did this past January. Usually, Assemblies of God Church, we have January, the month of praying, fasting. And that entire month, we just spend in isolation. The only time we would go out is to church in the evenings, and we pray for 1 hour. collectively. You fast, you give up those things that are desirable or pleasurable for you in pursuit of the voice of God and the purpose of God over your life. So we did that, and that's usually the best way to start my year. And I was able to do that this year. Just spend time with God, spend time in quietness, just listen, and of course you make your petitions known. One other thing that I also did was I followed, I don't know if you guys know about the Steve Harvey's trend of writing 300 things that you want out of life for the year. And I did that. I did that with a friend. And it was tough. Finding 300 things that you want, it makes you seem a bit selfish, yeah? You just want everything. But everything conceivable that you want to happen for the year, write it down. And don't stop until you get to number 300. And pray about it. Bring that list before God. Bring your desires, your needs, your wants, everything before God. And with faith and believing and giving your trust completely over to Him, let's watch and see what He'll do in 2023. Yeah? Have faith along with me, and let's see. Let's put God to the test. Let's challenge Him to keep His word that He cannot go back on, that does not return unto Him void. Let's see how it goes. Of course, we're going to be talking about fashion and style, like duh. And you guys should know by now that I do have my personal styling business called Style by Tori. It's on Instagram. I encourage you to go follow, like, share. This year is going to be amazing, guys. I can feel it. People say that it sounds very cliche, but this year is the year I'm coming for everything. And I challenge you to do the same. So one thing that's not going to change is my tagline at the end of my videos. If you know it, say it with me, girl. You are loved. You are blessed. You are great. You are enough. And you are created to do exploits. See you next time.